Hello, I'm Phil Dobbins, Clay County Superintendent of Schools. Welcome to our podcast series. In this series, we'll be interviewing community members and staff members discussing their particular programs and teams and what the levy will mean to them. The levy, again, is up for election on May 14th, and if approved, the purpose of this series is to explain how that money would be used. Okay, welcome, Mr. Michael Shamblin, WVU Extension Agent for a long time here in Clay County. So the public knows, what does an Extension Agent for WVU do?
It's a question that's sometimes really hard to answer, Phil. So we are the front porch of West Virginia University, and that connection between our land-grant university comes through the Extension Service or the Extension offices. So here at Clay County, we administer what most folks would recognize from West Virginia University and the USDA's program, the 4-H program. But we also do things with farmers and gardeners as well. And we've done some development projects here in the county too.
Yeah, I've noticed too, over the years, you partnership a lot with our agricultural classes here at the high school. So you work closely with some of the competitions, FFA competitions. Can you elaborate on that a little?
Well, sure, it's a nice fit. So historically, Extension has been linked to the College of Agriculture at West Virginia University. Now, we're much more diverse than that now, but that's my training as well. So I try to make sure to help the agriculture department as much as I possibly can. We've done events in entomology, we've done events in plant pathology, we've done events in beef expo, grassland evaluation, soils evaluation. Any way that I can kind of add to those programs, I always try to do that.
Okay, so we've talked about members. You mentioned 4-H, and we have a lot of students. I believe it's grades 3 and up that go to 4-H camp.
That's correct.
Okay, so at 4-H camp, what are some of the activities that these students or these kids get to participate in at 4-H camp that they may not have an opportunity to do outside of 4-H camp?
It's an opportunity for many kids to be away from home for the first time. It's an opportunity for kids to get to know their fellow students in a way that maybe they didn't know them at school. I've seen kids who, in all honesty, they probably don't like each other while they're in school, but when they go to 4-H camp, all of a sudden they're these great big friends and pals and buds. We have assemblies that can range. We usually have a theme that goes along with the 4-H camp. We do some classes and that sort of thing. Probably the greatest thing is the campfire program at night, and we get to make a lot of noise, but it's in a very organized, very structured manner, and I think kids come back for that tradition where they're linked to those 4 tribes, and they have their chiefs and their sags, and they all yearn to be that camp leadership. It took me about 12 years to really enjoy that program because it is. To the outside, it may look like it's just chaos, but it's really not. It's very structured chaos, and the kids get to vent a lot of their energy and things during the summer. Of course, we have trained volunteers, we have volunteers who are vetted, and all of those pieces require a lot of clerical assistance when it's time for us to make sure those kids are safe.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, let's talk about this. I've been fortunate enough in years past to be a camp counselor. It's a very rewarding experience, and I also noticed in my time there, you have a lot of students that have graduated. You have a lot of adults that volunteer to come back. I mean, so it's there's a connection. There are connections that are made that draw these people back. Can you speak to that a little bit about the volunteers that come back and help at 4-H camp?
Well, it's a strange bond. Okay, it is a strange bond, but they do become very much a family. And so for those folks that stick with 4-H camp for a few years, they just don't want to leave anymore. And it does build kids that may be slipping through the cracks. Can I say that?
You can.
Yeah. So athletics is not for everyone. Agriculture is not for everyone, to be fair. But at 4-H camp, they can be connected with an adult who cares, and they can learn to live in a family structure that they may not have. And they get to meet people that they can lean on. And so whenever they do go through that program, then they feel the need to give back. And I'm not saying that's how all of our volunteers become volunteers. That's not it at all. But we do develop a sense of civic duty in 4-H.
Yeah. So maybe you know this answer off the top of your head, maybe not, but ballpark us approximately the number of Clay County students that participate in 4-H camp and 4-H activities. I know that prior to COVID, numbers were pretty large. Then during the COVID years, obviously camp could not be held like a traditional camp. And then, after the pandemic, we're headed back into that normalcy. So approximately how many students from Clay County would you say participate in 4-H camp or 4-H activities?
Oh, goodness, it's well over 10%, maybe closer to 15 overall. At 4-H camp alone, we run about 10% of the enrollment here in Clay County.
Okay, so we're a little over 1,500 enrollment. So you normally takes upwards of 150 students then.
That's our max.
That's your max?
That's our max. And last year we were at 92, so we weren't quite at our max. I think we're still recovering from that pandemic and that little swag that took place there. But our largest camp was over 150, and we had to turn campers away. So we like to bank on that 10% number. That's how many we'd like to see, and that's how many we will see again.
Yeah. So you, in talking with you, you came here in 2003.
That's correct.
So you've been here now 21 years. And so in that time, the levy was in place. And on our levy call, there's an item on the call and on the ballot where funding will be provided if the levy is passed for West Virginia Extension Office. So in those years when you were here and the levy was in place, how was that money utilized, or how was funding utilized? I guess even we're talking transportation or whatever for the students to camp. Can you elaborate on that? How funding was used?
Well, sure. So there's a lot of correspondence that's supposed to go out of our office. Now, that being said, when we don't have the things that we need, things suffer. Have we been doing as good a job as I'd like to see us do? Absolutely not. But when it comes to 4-H camp, there's a lot of organization that takes place, both for the kids that are going to be taking part of it, but also the volunteers to make sure that they're vetted and properly approved and ready. So those funds historically were used for that correspondence and communication. They were used for supplies to help us get that correspondence and communication out. They were used for the employment of a secretary for our extension office, which is a really valuable piece because there are so many things that need to be put together. There are so many things that need to be shipped out. There's a need for just a presence in that county extension office so that when people call and have a question, they have somebody that they can talk to. Because not all the time am I in that office. If I'm not in it and I'm out of it, helping someone else, I want somebody to be there. I want them to be able to answer questions, and I want them to be able to take information so that I can get back with whoever it is that has a need.
When we talk about 4-H camp, and of course you got about 150 students, kids in Clay County that participate, you got to have transportation to get them there. Sometimes you even take trips with the students after they get to 4-H camp. Can you elaborate or talk about that?
Sure. So the levy in the past and the Board of Education is wonderful to help with this. But we transported in the past kids from the courthouse to Camp Shepherd because here in Clay County we don't have a camp of our very own, and so it's a tremendous help. And then once we get there, that facility doesn't have a swimming pool, and we always like to give our kids a bath once a week, and so they deserve a trip to the pool. Sometimes it gets really hot at 4-H camp, but the Board of Education has been wonderful to help us get those kids transported from 4-H camp to the Spencer City pool and then back to camp again. So 4-H camp benefits from the levy.
Right. I'm gonna shift gears on you a little bit, and I've attended a few times, but it's towards the end of summer. We always have the Ag Fair out at Mesa Park, and so I guess when we're looking at funding, how does funding, what role does that play in being able to put on an Ag Fair like like you guys put on, and I know it's thousands of dollars. Maybe you can talk about that for a little bit. So
there's a lot of players there, so let me say that first. You know, the Farm Bureau actually sponsors that event. The committee, there's a committee for the Farm Bureau that works very hard at that event.
Yeah.
There are businesses throughout the region that come out to support our kids, and this past year was our largest fair ever at 62,000.
Wow.
It was a tremendous sale, and we have a lot of kids out there, and so what the Levy would do for the Extension Office by providing that extra clerical support would be, again, to help us to communicate better with those buyers, to be able to communicate better with the kids that are part of that fair, and to make sure that those buyers are coming because they believe these kids are 4-H members in the 4-H program and are taking 4-H projects, and they are. Mm-hmm. So part of that clerical work is to make sure that those projects are completed and to make sure those projects get out to those kids, and we are able to support those kids in those projects. Mm-hmm. So the program would be very much benefited by additional clerical support.
Right. It by no ways would pay for everything, because like you talk about these, I heard lots of businesses there that would, I guess, bid on different animals, the livestock, and then the Farm Bureau plays a large role as well. But you're talking about a communication piece to kind of tie things together. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
It is, and those buyers, they need to know they're appreciated, because when they come to support our kids, they're paying above the market value for those animals out of courtesy to our kids, because they complete 4-H projects or FFA. They're in their FFA record books, so we've got those students as well.
I'm going to ask you about this one. I've noticed, because I drive on 36 over just past Ovepa. They're on the left headed towards 79. I see some of our students out there look to be shooting bows and arrows, archery. So what kind of shooting sports do you guys have going on?
So it's the fastest growing piece to 4-H nationwide, and it's really picking up here in Clay County too. We have archery, which we just finished this Saturday, so we're trying to do it seasonally. This Saturday was the state competition. 3 Saturdays ago was the air pistol competition, and we have muzzleloading, which we've now had three Clay County students go to Grand Island, Nebraska to compete with their muzzleloaders. Wow. And those are all 4-H pieces. But those disciplines, those shooting disciplines, are led by certified instructors. There are 6 here in county, and they are vetted volunteers with West Virginia University, and those things require clerical support to maintain their certifications. We need to make sure that those pieces get out. So that's how it's linked. We need support to make the paperwork work, to be able to still get kids out in the field to shoot ground bells at Ovepa.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, Mike, I appreciate what you do on a daily basis. You have a positive impact on the high school kids. I've seen it down here firsthand as a teacher here, and also with all the students from grades 3 and up, and even adults that have graduated and moved on. You have a positive impact, and you've been here for 20 years, and I just want to tell you thank you, not only for coming here today, but for the work you do to help our kids in Clay County.
It means a lot, Phil. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you for watching our podcast. There will be more to follow. If you have any questions or concerns about the levy or anything school related, I can be contacted by email at philip.dobbins@k12.wv.us or by calling the board office at 304-587-4266. I look forward to hearing from you.